Hello everyone, today I'm going to be showing you my little toolbox here, and this is always filled with things that I feel like I touch every single time I make a card, and I like to have them within arm's reach at all times. So while I do use other things like my Distress Oxide inks and my brushes and ink pads and other adhesives and things like that, I can go over them another day, but for now I just thought I would show you my favorite tools and the ones that I use the most often. So it's always chaos in here, but this is what I try to keep close to me all the time. So we'll start with adhesives. I do often have a box of adhesives very close by as well, with different sized double-sided tapes, different glues, a backup glue in case my little glue here runs out, post-it notes, things like that. But I always make sure that my nice thick double-sided tape is always close by. I use this pretty much every card when I'm sticking my card front onto my card base. I also have a couple of washi tapes in here. I use them all the time on my Cricut mats because they're starting to get a little bit unsticky with the amount of paper that I use on them all the time. And I use this for when I'm die cutting with my Big Shot as well. Here I have an ink pad, and it's a bit old. I'm not even actually sure if this brand is still around. I haven't even looked. It looks like it is. It looks like the brand I use for my embossing ink. This ink was actually my mum's when she used to do stamping, and I remember I ran out of black and she was very kind and gave it to me because she doesn't do stamping so much anymore. It has lasted me forever, and although I think this was probably around before the whole Copic colouring craze kicked in, it does really well with Copics. I've actually never had a problem with it. I do have a new ink on the way that I ordered with my Lawn Fawn order with the new release. I believe it's a Ranger one, and I will review that as I go along and see how that one works as well. But this one has held up fantastic. So I always have black ink close by, and to go with that, I always have a little clear acrylic block. I typically use my stamping platform quite a lot because I do like to stamp things twice and get those nice clear thick lines for all my stamps, but sometimes I use these as well if I just want to stamp something quickly, or if I'm stamping things multiple times, or just tiny items. This is just nice and easy rather than pulling out the stamp platform for maybe a couple of little hearts or decorative items. These little bottles are fantastic. If you don't have something like this, I highly recommend it. I have tried so many glues, glue tubes, bottles of glue. These are the only ones that I've found to have never blocked, and I think it's because it's a little pin. It just has no chance to block up. These have been fantastic. I've been using them for, I don't know, maybe 2 years now. I just fill it with a children's PVA glue that I grabbed from Big W for Aussies. Yeah, just a kid's PVA glue. It's been more than enough. It's worked perfectly. I always try to keep them topped up, because there's nothing worse than running out of glue halfway through a card. And they've just been fantastic. They do release a very small amount of glue, which is perfect for all of my tiny little items on my projects. If you've watched my videos, you see that I use this on all size pieces, cardstock and foam and everything, but this is really, really handy. I will make sure links to all of these items that I'm talking about that I can find. I don't know about the ink anymore because it's so old, but I will try to have a full list of these items on my blog for you to have a look at. So that is my tiny little glue tube. It came in a pack of 2, and I think I got it on sale for maybe $3 for the 2-pack. They are just fantastic. Next, this is pretty boring, but it's pretty standard. I have a pencil, but I find I don't use that very much anymore. I actually use my erasable pen. I didn't even know these things existed until I started planning. I love these pens so much. They are so, so good, and I love that you can erase them nice and easy. I use this a lot when I'm marking out where I need to cut my cardstock before I take it to my paper trimmer, because I can rub out the little marks. I love it when I need to maybe edit a stamped image and change it up a little bit, because if I don't like the way it's coming out, I can just erase it and try again. But these pens are fantastic, and they write really smoothly too, so that's always a bonus. What else do I have in here? I have a spoon. This is one of my kids' spoons. I found it just worked really well when I was looking for one for embossing powder, and because I started using it with my craft supplies, it has just stayed here. So you've probably seen that in almost all of my videos, but it was my little boy's when he was little. Now I have 2 of these in here, and I can already feel that this is the new one and this is the empty one. I really should get rid of it so I stop confusing myself. So this is a Wink of Stella, and I absolutely love these pens. It is brand new, so I find when it's brand new it kind of pours out a lot of the ink, but I don't know if you can see that. It's super shiny. I love adding this to things like, fairy wings and clouds. It's just a nice clear layer of sparkle. This one should just, there we go. This one's just called white. Very cute. And then one's clear. So I actually got one that's a bit different to what I thought last time. So I might have to stock up on a clear. What a shame. An excuse to buy more cute pens. Okay, I also have my anti-static powder tool. These are fantastic. It's so funny. When I ordered it, I thought, oh, this is amazing. I can't wait to use this. It's going to make my embossing fantastic. And it has. But it was so funny for the first time trying out embossing and realizing that this thing is just full of baby powder. It literally even smells like baby powder. Like there's not even any hiding it. It's really funny, but at least I know what to refill it with when when it runs out, if it ever runs out. And all the embossing that I've done, I still haven't even used like half of it. But I mean, it says open at the bottom, but I don't think I'm ever going to do that until that runs out, because I can imagine the mess it would make. But yeah, that's my anti-static tool. I make sure I have that close by. It's not just for embossing, it's great for my shakers as well. Great for reducing any stickiness in areas where you want things to slide smoothly. I put it on my acetate on the inside of my shakers and all around the edges where any adhesive might be hanging over, so that it won't get stuck. Because we all know by now how much I really don't like when you shake a shaker card for the first time and one item finds its forever home and gets wedged in the side. So this, I find, is very helpful at making really, really good shaker cards too. Okay, I have my liquid Stardust. I would say I probably don't use this all the time because I do have my watercolor pigments, but I really do like adding this to my Distress Oxide inks. If I put some on my mat and then drop this over the top, it really does make for some beautiful shiny splatters. So I do like to keep it close because it's a small bottle too. It doesn't really take up much room in here, and I would probably lose it if I tried to put it anywhere else. Now, tweezers. I think I might have 3 pairs. I do have 3 pairs of tweezers in here. Now, why do I have so many? So I like to keep at least these 2 around so that they can hold things together while they're gluing, or to have something off to the side being pinched together to adhere. And I like to have another one so that I can continue gluing while that's doing its thing. Just my hands get so shaky after a while, so I find these are fantastic for holding tiny things while I put glue on them. And I find that they're perfect for helping place items onto your cards once they're glued up and ready to go, so that you can be nice and precise. And I have a set with the silicone handles as well, and this is because I do like to use my heat gun for heat embossing, and I like to use it for shrink plastic too, and that really has to be turned on for quite a while and held in the one spot. So things get really hot and you don't want to be holding something like this where the heat is just going to travel up the metal and into your hands. So that's what these ones are for. I find these ones don't grip quite as nicely as these guys do, but it does the job for protecting my hands at least, because I am pretty accident prone and I do not want to burn myself any more than I have in the past. Okay, so we've seen these recently in a tutorial that I did. I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. It was lots of fun to make. So these are my Jelly Roll pens, and I got them in a set of 3, and I can't even remember when purchasing them if I even realized they were different sizes. I think when they showed up I was actually surprised by that. I am really glad that I have various sizes in these, because as you would have seen in that tutorial, I use them all and for different sized images. So they're fantastic. I really love them. As I said also in that tutorial, I have tried other white gel pens and I haven't had much luck with them. They always seem to dry, or the ball doesn't roll. There's just always something that I'm not doing right with them. I'm not sure what it is, but these have not let me down yet. So I really do enjoy these. I wouldn't mind getting them in some other colors too, but for now I'm really happy with the white because I use them all the time. Okie dokie, I have my little X-Acto knife. This is a new addition. I probably only got this maybe 2 months ago or so. I was finding that I really needed it to chop little bits of, polymer clay rods and to cut around things like the little bear's arms in my cards so that they can hold things, and recently little people's arms as well. This has come in handy already, and I'm sure there's going to be so many more uses for it as I go along. So I do highly recommend it. It is nice and sharp. It does a fantastic job. Now, this is just one pair of scissors. It's my grubby pair of Cricut scissors. I'm due to clean all of my poor sets of sticky scissors at the moment, but I just try to keep these here. Sometimes I leave them over with my Cricut, but I try to have scissors next to me at all times because I always have a reason for them, whether it be cutting my foam squares smaller. And I actually fussy cut, I'd say 90% of the images that I use in my cards because I'm still on a budget, and if I want as many cute stamps as I have to sacrifice the dies because they're much more expensive for now. So while I think I might collect dies as I go along, and for my favourite sets that I use a lot and I might get sick of cutting out, little mice tails are incredibly tricky to work around. These do the trick for now. They actually cut really well and nice and close. They've got tape stuck all over them. They're just fantastic, and I like to just have scissors close by. I feel like that is a pretty standard item to have close by. I have a paintbrush. This is just an old dodgy looking paintbrush that I would have had as a kid that I found in my box of paints, and this is for my watercolors. And when I try to kind of do some, you know, fancy kind of watercolor stuff with my Distress Oxide inks, if I ever try to attempt that, I just find it's really handy to have a little paintbrush for that. It does hold a decent amount of water, so if I want big splatters and things, it does really well, or if I don't load it up too much, that it does very fine little dots. So it's just a good thing to have close by all the time. My Tombow tape runner, I love this so much, but the refills are actually becoming incredibly hard to find here in Australia, or they're ridiculously expensive, like $20 plus for a 3-pack. But I actually found them on the Lawn Fawn website, so I threw some on there because I think they were like $12 US for the 3-pack, which still after conversion and after shipping it works out to be cheaper than buying them here. This is probably my favorite tape runner ever because it is like a semi-adhesive first, so you can use it on the back of something and stick it down, and you've probably got maybe a few minutes of moving it around before it really starts to seal itself to your card or your cardstock. So I really like being able to do that. It kind of has like the freedom of using a wet glue to be able to move things around a little bit, but without leaving a trail of glue behind if you're moving things all over the place. So I really, really like these ones. With my refills coming soon, I might be able to use them a bit more again. I have a little black gel pen in here, and I have my Artline pen here too. So I like using these to colour things in black. I know that might sound pretty straightforward, but when I'm colouring in things like little tiny images, maybe the little stamps that I've played around with and edited the image a little bit, I find that using some finer markers smaller than my Copics, smaller than the big brush pens and things like that, these kind of get into those little areas a bit nicer. I have a little spatula in here. I probably could remove this one. I don't use it as often as I thought. I've actually taken another one out of here recently, and this one missed the latest cull of this box. But I would use these for things like my stickers and pastes and things like that. So here we go, another pencil hiding in the bottom there. Another gel pen, because we can never have too many of them. These belong with my Cricut paper trimmer, and I think I keep them in here because they're safe and I know where they are. So one is a scoring tool and one is a spare blade, and I use that trimmer quite a lot, and I do switch out to the scoring tool quite a lot, especially when I was making boxes for a small business at Christmas time. This one really came in handy to score all the lines. This actually belongs on the tip of my tweezers, which I probably should put back on, and I'm always wondering where it is, so there we go. It was hiding down the bottom. I have my little water spray bottle. I typically also have a little bowl of water close by for when I'm doing my watercolors and things, but I find if I'm putting Distress Oxide ink on my mat and I just want to quickly spray it to give it some water instead of going over to the sink and filling my little bowl. It's also fantastic for when I do my Distress Oxide backgrounds and I want to add a really fine mist to it. It does have, I would say, a really even cover, which is kind of not what I want all the time when I'm doing my Distress Oxide backgrounds. I like it to be a mix of big dots and little dots and things like that. So, but this has lots of uses and I like to keep it close by. My jewel picker, this has been fantastic. I really do like this. I love that the ends are different sizes, which is very handy for different size sequins and gems. I do highly recommend something like this because if you're like me and you just have fumbly fingers that can't pick up tiny things or flip them over, this is really, really handy. And last in here, I have my little foam squares. I do have a box of adhesives, like I said, but I do try to keep these on hand as well so I don't have to go digging for the box when I just want a couple of these for my cards. So I don't know how interesting that was, but this is what I like to keep nice and close to me every time I'm doing my crafting. All of these things I find really helpful. So all the ones that I can find the links for, I will make sure that I put in my blog post, and I'll pop the link to that post in the description. I would love to know, is there anything that you think is missing? What do you keep on hand super close to you when you're crafting that you can't live without? I would really like to know because maybe it would help me with my crafting, or maybe it'll help someone else. I would really, really love to know. So thank you so much for watching. I'll be back soon with some more tutorials. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. I will see you again very soon. Bye.